Welcome, deep divers. We've got an absolutely crucial conversation for you today.
We really do.
We are diving deep into a moment that genuinely represents, well, a critical inflection point in the world of cybersecurity and data privacy. We're talking 2025, and believe me, it's not just another year on a calendar. This isn't about incremental changes anymore.
No, not at all.
Feels like a fundamental recalibration.
That's exactly right. If you look at the landscape, you see this powerful convergence of forces happening.
Convergence.
Yeah. On one side, you've got AI-enhanced threats, and they're evolving at just an unprecedented pace.
Right.
On the other side, there's this regulatory landscape that's, frankly, just incredibly complex, a real maze.
Yeah, I've been looking at that. It's wild.
And then kind of woven through all of that is this widening skills gap in the cybersecurity workforce.
The people problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes every single challenge that much harder. But what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that this confluence is forcing a really profound strategic shift.
How?
Well, we're moving away from just reacting to threats, playing defense after something bad has already happened.
The old way.
Right. Towards proactively building security postures that are heavily augmented by artificial intelligence. It's about getting ahead of the curve, trying to anticipate, not just catching up after the fact.
Okay, let's unpack this with some immediate impact, because the numbers themselves tell a story of urgency.
They really do.
I mean, just consider ransomware attacks. They've surged by a staggering 149% year over year.
Wow, 149%.
Yeah, that's not just a statistic. It feels like a tidal wave of disruption for organizations, worldwide. And those deepfake-enabled social engineering attacks we used to sort of hear about, like sci-fi.
Yeah, felt theoretical for a long time.
Exactly. They're no longer theoretical. They are absolutely mainstream now, weaponizing human trust in ways we've just never seen before.
It's terrifying, actually.
It is. And the financial impact is tangible, too. Average ransomware payments nearly doubled from 2023. Doubled, hitting an eye-watering $2.73 million on average.
Good grief. $2.73 million.
Imagine the direct hit to a company's bottom line.
Yeah.
That's before you even think about the reputational damage, the operational paralysis.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, like you were saying, it's not just those immediate financial hits from the attacks themselves.
Correct.
The regulatory pressures alone are immense, and they are fundamentally reshaping how every single organization operates.
Like those state privacy laws.
Exactly. In the U.S., for example, you're talking about 8 new state privacy laws taking effect in 2025 alone.
8 new ones on top of everything else.
Right. That creates this patchwork of compliance challenges that's just incredibly difficult and expensive to navigate.
And that's just the U.S.
Precisely. Beyond that, organizations are also grappling with these really complex preparations for quantum-safe cryptography transitions.
The quantum threat.
Yeah.
That feels far off, but scary.
Well, it is, but the prep has to start now. It's a monumental effort, really, that's going to redefine digital security standards all the way through 2030 and beyond.
So for organizations, it's truly a multi-front battle, isn't it? Fought simultaneously on technical, legal, and operational battlegrounds.
Absolutely. It's relentless.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, for organizations trying to stay afloat and, thrive in this environment?
Well,
it means we're undeniably in a period of what sources are calling unprecedented challenges and opportunities.
that sums it up well.
But here's the crucial caveat, right? Those opportunities are only really there for organizations willing to embrace comprehensive, multi-layered strategies. You can't just dabble.
No, half measures won't cut it, and the money is certainly flowing in to try and meet these challenges.
Huge amounts.
Global cybersecurity spending is projected to surge to an astonishing $212 billion in 2025 alone.
Wow. $212 billion.
Yeah, that represents a pretty robust 15.1% increase. And this isn't just companies wanting to spend more on shiny new toys.
It's being forced on them.
In many ways, yes. It's being driven by mandatory compliance requirements, these persistent and escalating supply chain vulnerabilities we keep seeing, and just the cold, hard realization that cyber resilience isn't an IT problem anymore. It's absolutely essential for business survival. It's existential.
Indeed. And that raises a critically important question that you, as a listener, should really be asking yourself. With all this significant investment pouring in, why does success increasingly depend on, and I'm quoting here, strategic orchestration rather than mere technology accumulation.
That's the core question. It's no longer about just buying more tools, right? Piling on more software, hoping something sticks.
Right, the more is better approach doesn't work.
Not anymore. The answer really lies in the seamless integration of these new capabilities. We're talking about AI-powered detection systems that actually talk to robust zero-trust architectures,
Okay.
all harmonized with highly specific, industry-tailored compliance frameworks.
So it's about how they work together.
Precisely. The true strength now comes from how well these components work together, how they communicate, how they amplify each other's strengths, not just how many distinct solutions you have in your tech stack.
It's like building a symphony, not just collecting instruments.
That's a perfect analogy, yes.
And that brings us precisely to our next big section, how the threat landscape itself is evolving, really shifting beyond traditional boundaries.
Yeah.
And trust me, what we're witnessing here feels like a quantum leap in sophistication and scale from the adversaries.
Absolutely. It's a whole new ballgame.
Let's start with ransomware, because the numbers here are truly alarming. They just paint this picture of relentless aggression.
They really do. The growth we're seeing is explosive and, frankly, deeply concerning.
Like that 149% number you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, in the United States alone, ransomware attacks saw that breathtaking 149% growth in just the first 5 weeks of 2025.
5 weeks. Not even a full quarter.
No. And globally, incidents increased by 126% in the first quarter of 2025. That reached a staggering 2,289 reported incidents.
It's just staggering.
But this isn't just about a volume increase, you know? That's bad enough. This surge signifies an entirely new level of operational maturity among these cybercriminal organizations.
They're getting more processional.
Exactly. They're no longer just small, disparate groups hacking away in basements. They're becoming more like sophisticated, well-oiled businesses.
With structures and processes.
Yeah, complete with their own supply chains, specialized roles. Even, you could almost call it customer service for handling ransom negotiations.
That's chilling.
It is. This structured approach makes them far more resilient and much more effective.
And the economic devastation they're causing is just monumental.
Unbelievable numbers.
We're looking at projected damages reaching $57 billion in 2025 alone.
$57 billion.
To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire GDP of some small nations.
That's a useful comparison. Wow.
What's even more fascinating, maybe terrifying is the better word, is the evolving ecosystem behind these attacks. The power dynamic itself is actually shifting.
How do you mean?
Well, we're seeing more power moving away from the central ransomware operators, the ones who build the malware, and moving towards their affiliates, the ones who actually carry out the attacks. These affiliates are now commanding more generous terms, sometimes keeping up to like 70% of the ransom.
So the risk-reward is shifting for the attackers on the ground.
Exactly. And this decentralization makes the whole network even harder to track and dismantle.
Makes sense. More distributed, harder to target.
We're also seeing new, highly dangerous groups emerge. Names like Ransom Hub, Akira, and Quillen keep popping up in reports.
Not household names yet, but definitely on the radar of security professionals.
Definitely. And here's where it gets truly unsettling. These groups are actively developing what are known as EDR killers.
EDR killers. Endpoint detection and response killers.
Exactly. These aren't just generic pieces of malware. They're tools specifically designed to terminate that defensive software, your EDR, right on the victim's machines.
So they're blinding the defenders first.
Precisely. It's a direct countermeasure, a deliberate attempt to blind security teams and ensure their attacks succeed.
And this leads us right into another truly concerning development, one that targets, really, the most fundamental element of our interactions. The human element.
Deepfakes.
Deepfakes, which are placing human trust under siege like never before. Get this. There's been a frightening 442% surge in voice phishing attacks leveraging AI-generated deepfakes.
442%.
Yeah. Between the first and second half of 2024 alone, that's an incredible rate of increase.
And these aren't just like quick distorted voice messages.
No, these are not just quick one-off impersonations designed to trick someone for a few seconds. These sophisticated campaigns are now capable of maintaining incredibly convincing impersonations over prolonged interactions.
Like a full phone call.
Or even multiple calls, making it almost impossible for a human to detect the deception based on voice alone.
And the fraudsters behind these attacks, they're making significant investments to achieve this level of realism, right?
Huge investments. We're talking about costs of up to $20,000 per minute for high-quality deepfake content.
20 grand a minute.
This isn't pocket change. It's a serious business model for them. High investment for potentially massive returns.
And the impact isn't theoretical anymore. It's very real and already devastating for organizations around the globe.
We've seen examples.
Yeah, imagine the shock and horror when a Singapore company discovered it had lost $25 million.
The CFO impersonation cases?
Exactly. Through a deepfake CFO impersonation where an AI-generated voice perfectly mimicked a senior executive during what seemed like an urgent, legitimate transaction.
Unbelievable.
Or the UK engineering firm Erupt, suffering a similar $25 million loss. This was from a deepfake video conference scam.
Video now, too. That's even harder.
Right. And these weren't small, unsophisticated organizations. They were well-resourced global entities that still fell victim.
It proves that even highly advanced and well-defended companies are vulnerable to these emerging attack vectors.
It fundamentally shakes your trust in what you see and hear. And that, for any business, for any interaction, is just a catastrophic blow.
Shaking trust is precisely the goal in many cases. And it extends beyond financial fraud into the realm of, well, geopolitics.
Nation-states getting in on the action.
Very much so. Nation-state cyber operations are becoming incredibly adept at blending in and striking hard when needed. We've seen a 150% surge in Chinese operations, for instance.
150%. What are they focusing on?
Specifically focusing on critical infrastructure pre-positioning. There's this campaign ominously known as Volt Typhoon.
Volt Typhoon. Pre-positioning sounds bad, like setting up for later.
That's exactly the concern. Their objective isn't always immediate disruption. It's often about establishing persistent access, getting footholds that could potentially be activated during a future conflict or crisis.
So for you, our listener in the U.S., what specifically are they targeting?
Communications infrastructure, energy grids, transportation systems, and crucial water systems. Basically the lifelines of the country.
And their method is incredibly stealthy, right?
Yeah.
That makes them notoriously difficult to detect.
Yes. They use those living off the land techniques we mentioned earlier, LOTL for short.
The living off the land.
It means they exploit legitimate system tools already present on a network. Things like PowerShell or Windows management instrumentation, tools administrators use every day.
So they don't need to bring in their own obvious malware.
Precisely. By doing so, they don't introduce new, easily detectable malicious files. Instead, they blend seamlessly with legitimate network activity. It just looks like normal operations to many security tools.
That's clever and terrifying. Meanwhile, Russia.
Yeah, Russian operations have maintained their intensity. About 75% of their attacks between July 2023 and June 2024 targeted either Ukraine or NATO members.
So very focused geographically.
And their cyber warfare is completely integrated with their kinetic operations, their physical attacks. It highlights how cyber conflict is now just an integral part of modern warfare. It's not separate anymore.
Which brings us to perhaps the most significant shift in criminal methodology we've seen lately. One that fundamentally alters how we even approach detection.
The malware-free attacks.
Exactly. A stunning 79% of threat detections are now malware-free attacks.
79%. Let that sink in.
It's a profound change from the days when signature-based detection systems, the ones looking for known malicious code, were the frontline defense.
Those traditional systems are becoming increasingly ineffective against these living-off-the-land attacks because, as you said, they simply exploit legitimate system tools and APIs.
There's no new malicious file to create a signature for. Nothing for the old antivirus to find.
Exactly. Because they're using native, legitimate tools, they're not dropping identifiable malware that can be easily scanned.
Which means they are incredibly fast and stealthy.
Unbelievably fast. The average breakout time, and just to remind listeners, breakout time is that critical period from the initial compromise of a system to an attacker's first lateral movement within a network.
The time you have to react?
Right. That average time has been reduced to just 48 minutes.
Under an hour.
Less than an hour for an attacker to establish a foothold and start poking around your network, moving sideways.
And the fastest recorded breakout time?
An astonishing 51 seconds.
51 seconds?
Yes. To put that in perspective, that's less time than it takes to boil a kettle for tea, like you said earlier.
There's no time for manual intervention there.
Absolutely none. It means once an attacker is in, your organization has virtually no time for manual detection or response. It fundamentally rewrites the rules of engagement.
So it forces this radical shift away from relying on traditional signature-based defenses.
Completely.
And demands a pivot towards things like behavioral analytics and AI-powered threat hunting capabilities just to stand any chance of detection and rapid response.
You have to be faster than the attacker. And that now means leveraging machine speed. You need AI fighting AI.
Okay, so this evolution in the threat landscape naturally signals a rapid maturation of the security technologies themselves, especially with this deep integration of AI we keep mentioning.
Yeah, AI in security is no longer some experimental concept that security teams are just, playing around with in a lab.
It's not R&D anymore.
No, it's operationally critical. It's becoming the bedrock of modern defense strategies.
And there's a perfect example that really showcases AI's proactive power. Google's Big Sleep agent.
Ah, yes, Big Sleep.
This AI successfully discovered previously unknown vulnerabilities, like one in SQUY, CVE 2025-6965, before they could be exploited by malicious actors.
Think about the implications of that. AI proactively finding weaknesses in widely used software before they become attack vectors.
That's a huge win for proactive security. Not just reacting, but preventing.
Exactly. And these AI systems are now so integrated that they analyze an impressive 40% of all cyber attacks.
40% are touched by AI analysis.
Yeah. And platforms like CrowdStrike's Charlotte AI are achieving incredibly high accuracy rates. We're talking 98% accuracy in detection triage.
Triage being sorting the real threats from the noise.
Precisely. Which means they can accurately identify and prioritize real threats, freeing up those scarce human analysts for the more complex, nuanced investigation tasks. It's powerful stuff, truly changing the game.
It is powerful, but it also brings with it this interesting, maybe predictable human-AI tension that we, as a society, and definitely in cybersecurity, are still navigating.
The trust factor.
Yeah. Despite AI's proven capabilities, only 29% of cybersecurity teams actually trust AI to act independently, without human oversight.
That's quite low, considering the capabilities.
It is. It highlights this ongoing debate and a clear need for balance between the incredible automation capabilities that AI offers,
Which are undeniable.
and the critical requirement for human oversight, human intuition, and strategic decision-making.
Yeah, it's not about replacing humans entirely, is it? It's about augmenting their capabilities, making them more efficient, more effective.
But still retaining that human judgment for the really complex, unexpected situations.
Exactly. That intuition is hard to replicate.
Okay. And speaking of foundational shifts in how we approach security, zero trust architectures, ZTA, are rapidly becoming the new default.
Absolutely. It's moved from buzzword to standard practice pretty quickly.
It's not just a buzzword anymore. It's a security model built on that core principle.
Yeah.
Never trust, always verify.
Right. Doesn't matter if you're inside or outside the old network perimeter.
No assumptions. Every user, every device, every application must be authenticated and authorized every single time they try to access resources.
And adoption is really widespread now. Sources say 81% of organizations have already implemented some form of ZTA.
81%. That's huge adoption.
It is. And the global market for zero trust reflects that. It's projected to reach an astounding $47.1 billion by 2030.
Wow. What's driving that? Besides the obvious security benefits.
Well, a big driver, especially in the U.S., has been federal mandates requiring U.S. agencies to implement ZTA by September 2024. That really pushed the market.
So for many, it's no longer an option. It's a mandatory security framework. Government sets the tone.
Precisely. And another critical area that has seen really accelerated adoption is multi-factor authentication, MFA.
MFA, yeah. More than just a password.
Right. And the broader accelerating move towards a truly passwordless future.
Getting rid of passwords altogether. The dream.
It's getting closer. The biometrics market, for instance, has expanded significantly. It's now worth about $68.6 billion.
Driven by things like fingerprint readers, face scans.
Exactly. Largely driven by increased post-pandemic acceptance of technologies like face scans. Comfort levels with those are up by 38%. People are just more accustomed to using their unique biological attributes for authentication now.
We see it on our phones every day.
We do. And we've seen real-world impact with giants like Microsoft rolling out passwordless MFA for Azure Active Directory. That move alone significantly reduced password reliance by 35%.
That's a big chunk, and less password reliance means less risk.
Absolutely. It's not just about convenience. It's about eliminating a primary, very vulnerable attack vector. And the adoption rates reflect that urgency. 83% of organizations now require MFA for IT resources.
83%. That's up quite a bit.
Yeah, a substantial 12% year-over-year increase. It shows a clear, irreversible trend away from static, easily compromised passwords.
Okay, so ZTA, MFA. Here's where detection gets truly sophisticated, though.
Yeah.
It moves beyond just simple signatures or verifying identity once. Behavioral analytics.
Yes, UETH, User and Entity Behavior Analytics.
This is a crucial evolution, right? Because it learns what normal looks like for each user, each device, and then flags anything else, anything unusual.
That's the core idea. These UEBA platforms are at the forefront here. They meticulously establish behavioral baselines. What time does someone usually log in? What systems do they normally access? From where? And then they tirelessly detect anomalies from that baseline in real time.
It's like a highly intelligent security guard who knows everyone's habits on the network and immediately spots when something feels off, even if it's subtle.
That's a great analogy. And studies consistently show these systems significantly reduce false positives compared to older methods.
Fewer false alarms for the security team to chase down.
Exactly. Because they analyze contextual behavior patterns rather than relying solely on a known bad signature. This means security teams can focus their limited resources on genuine threats. It's a much smarter, more efficient way to detect those subtle, living-off-the-land intrusions we talked about.
It feels essential for catching those kinds of attacks.
It really is becoming essential.
And looking even further ahead, quantum cryptography preparation seems to be accelerating.
It is, even though, as you mentioned, ICRI's assessment suggests that cryptographically relevant quantum computers, the kind that could actually break today's encryption, remain unlikely before, say, 2055 to 2060.
So decades away, potentially. Why the urgency now? Why are governments pouring money into this?
This is where that concept of harvest now, decrypt later becomes absolutely critical.
Harvest now, decrypt later. Explain that.
Imagine an adversary, likely a nation-state, with vast resources, stealing huge amounts of your highly sensitive encrypted data today. They know they can't break the encryption yet.
Okay.
But they're banking on quantum computers in 10, 20, maybe 30 years being powerful enough to instantly decrypt all that stolen information they've been hoarding.
So the data might be safe today, but it could be compromised decades from now if you don't act.
Precisely. Your secrets today could be exposed tomorrow or years from now. The U.S. government clearly understands this threat. They've allocated a substantial $7.1 billion specifically for post-quantum cryptography migration between 2025 and 2035.
It's a serious investment.
It is. And some federal agencies are even required to complete their transitions as early as 2030.
What helps them do that? Are there standards yet?
Yes, that's been a game changer. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, published their first set of recommended post-quantum encryption algorithms in 2024.
Okay, so the tools are starting to become available.
Exactly. That publication provided the foundational standards needed for organizations to finally begin large-scale deployment planning and testing. It's about securing data today against tomorrow's decryption capabilities.
Yeah.
You have to play the long game.
It's essentially future-proofing your most sensitive information, but the work has to start now, not later.
Absolutely. You can't wait until the threat is imminent.
And as more and more organizations shift their operations, their data, their applications, cloud security has unequivocally become the new perimeter.
Oh, without a doubt. Its paramount importance just cannot be overstated. As organizations migrate increasing amounts of their workloads to various cloud environments, public, private, hybrid.
It's not just about securing a server room in the basement anymore.
Not at all. It's about securing distributed assets across multiple cloud providers, often globally. It's a much more complex environment.
So how are the tools keeping up? Like firewalls?
Well, next-generation firewalls, NGFWs, are evolving rapidly. They're now handling increasingly complex tasks like deep analysis of encrypted traffic, which is crucial, as most traffic is encrypted now, and seamless integration with SD-WAN for secure connectivity.
And we're seeing leaders in this space really innovate.
Definitely. Market leaders like Palo Alto Networks are developing sophisticated machine learning-powered NGFWs. These have application awareness, cloud-native capabilities, really designed specifically for these dynamic distributed environments.
And other platforms.
Meanwhile, you have platforms like CrowdStrike's Falcon, focusing heavily on endpoint and cloud workload protection. They continue to demonstrate incredible strength, maintaining perfect 100% detection scores in the independent MITRE AT&CK evaluations for the 5th consecutive year.
5 years running, that's impressive consistency.
It really is. It shows the maturity of some of these leading platforms. The key takeaway is that the cloud is no longer just an extension of your network. For many organizations, it is the core of their digital operations now, and that demands a fundamentally different cloud-centric approach to security.
Okay, so this incredibly complex technical and threat landscape leads us directly into an equally intricate yet absolutely vital area: regulatory complexity.
Yeah.
Which seems to be reaching unprecedented levels across different jurisdictions.
Yeah, if you thought compliance was hard before, 2025 just added multiple new layers, often conflicting, that demand just meticulous attention and significant resources.
It really feels like navigating a legal minefield for businesses, doesn't it? Where just crossing state lines electronically can trigger entirely new sets of rules.
That's a good way to put it. The U.S. state privacy landscape, for example, is incredibly fragmented. As we mentioned, 8 new U.S. state privacy laws took effect in 2025 alone.
Joining the ones already there, like California, Virginia.
Exactly. Joining an already complex web of existing legislation. Now put that in a global context. A staggering 71% of countries worldwide have now enacted some form of data privacy legislation.
71%. So privacy laws are the norm now, globally.
They are. But this proliferation and, crucially, the fragmentation of these regulations is creating significant compliance challenges for organizations. We're seeing 76% of CISO's chief information security officers reporting that this regulatory fragmentation directly impacts their compliance strategies.
It's not just a minor headache for the legal team. It's fundamentally reshaping how they operate day to day, forcing them to adopt these dynamic, adaptable compliance programs.
And the variations within the U.S. alone are a perfect illustration of this complexity. It makes a one-size-fits-all compliance strategy basically impossible.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Consider Delaware's DPDPA, which took effect January 1st. It's generally seen as more consumer-friendly, focusing on opt-out mechanisms for data use. Now compare that to Maryland's MODPA, effective October 1st. It's far more restrictive. It actually prohibits the sale of personal data entirely, with very few exceptions.
Wow, that's a huge difference. Prohibition versus opt-out.
Exactly. And these laws also feature widely varying thresholds for applicability. For example, New Jersey's law kicks in if you process the data of just 25,000 consumers. Tennessee sets a higher revenue requirement at $25 million annually before its law applies.
So you have to track consumers state by state, revenue, data types.
All of it. And then, crucially, there are diverse penalty structures. Fines range from maybe $10,000 per violation in Delaware to a much harsher $25,000 for repeat violations in Maryland.
So this fragmented approach means an organization operating across multiple states basically has to navigate a bespoke compliance strategy for each jurisdiction.
That sounds incredibly expensive and complex.
It adds immense overhead, legal costs, technology costs, process changes. Significant. It's a true compliance puzzle, demanding specialized legal and technical expertise. And then you layer on the international regulatory developments on top of that.
Right, which add even more complexity and global reach. China's Personal Information Protection Law, PIPL, is a big one. It's expected to see significant extraterritorial enforcement starting in 2025.
Extraterritorial meaning?
Meaning that if you're a company outside of China, but you're dealing with Chinese citizens' data, you could be subject to their regulations and their potentially hefty penalties.
Okay, that affects a lot of global businesses.
A huge number. Then you have India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act. Once it's fully implemented, it carries significant potential penalties, up to around $29.6 million for non-compliance.
Serious money.
Very serious. And the EU, of course, already a trailblazer with GDPR, continues its aggressive enforcement. Plus, they're integrating new regulations like the AI Act, which will govern the use of AI systems.
AI regulations coming fast.
And their Digital Operational Resilience Act, DORO. That becomes effective January 17th, 2025. It specifically targets financial services entities to ensure their digital systems can withstand disruptions.
So specific rules for specific sectors, too. It's a truly global web of regulations, and organizations just have to adapt to its intricate and constantly changing demands.
It requires constant vigilance, and this global reach also introduces new, quite stringent restrictions on cross-border data transfers. This directly impacts how multinational businesses operate.
How so? What's changing there?
Well, the U.S. Department of Justice finalized a rule called Preventing Access to U.S. Sensitive Personal Data. It takes effect April 8, 2025.
Okay, what does it prevent?
It specifically prohibits certain types of data transactions, particularly involving sensitive personal data like genomic data, health data, financial data with designated countries of concern.
Which countries are those?
The initial list includes China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela.
So significant geopolitical implications there.
Absolutely. This has wide-ranging implications. It affects everything from routine business operations and critical vendor relationships to the fundamental data flows that underpin global commerce, especially in research and technology sectors.
So organizations now face new, rigorous obligations.
Yes. Comprehensive due diligence on their partners and data flows, external audits, meticulous reporting requirements, and extensive record keeping. It fundamentally alters how they manage international business relationships and, importantly, where they can physically process and store sensitive U.S. data.
So with all this complexity, these new mandates, the threat landscape, what does this all mean for your organization's bottom line? The cost must be huge.
The cost of compliance is indeed staggering. Consider this. 88% of companies report spending over $1 million annually on GDPR compliance alone.
$1 million a year just for GDPR.
For 88% of them, yes. And a significant 40% are exceeding $10 million annually just on GDPR compliance.
That's massive overhead.
It is. Closer to home, California's CCPA, the first major U.S. state privacy law, generated an estimated $55 billion in initial statewide compliance costs when it rolled out.
$55 billion just for California businesses to comply initially.
Yeah. And if a federal GDPR-style law were ever to be enacted in the U.S., which is still debated, projections suggest it could cost the U.S. economy an estimated $122 billion annually.
Wow. But here's the kicker, right? This is a critical point for any business leader listening.
What's that?
The cost of non-compliance is often even greater.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes significantly greater.
Studies suggest it can reach twice the investment required for proper compliance. When you factor in the massive fines, the litigation costs, the mandatory breach notifications, the long-term reputational damage.
It's not just a gamble to underinvest in compliance. It's a strategically poor decision. The risk of non-compliance far outweighs the cost of doing it right.
It's a strategic imperative to invest properly in compliance.
Couldn't agree more. And then, layered on top of the privacy regulations, we have increasingly stringent cybersecurity-specific regulations intensifying scrutiny, particularly across critical infrastructure sectors.
Like CERCIA.
Exactly. The Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act, CERCIA. Its final rules are due in October 2025. This act requires an incredibly tight 72-hour reporting window for substantial cybersecurity incidents.
72 hours. 3 days. That's fast.
It is. And an even more urgent 24-hour reporting window specifically for ransomware payments.
Just 24 hours to report if you pay a ransom.
Yes. And this applies across all 16 designated critical infrastructure sectors. It's a massive shift, demanding rapid detection, quick decision-making, and immediate transparent communication with the government.
No more hiding breaches for weeks or months.
Those days are ending, at least for critical infrastructure. Additionally, look at the New York Department of Financial Services, the NYDFS. Their cybersecurity regulation amendments mandate comprehensive compliance reports submitted by April 15, 2025. With enhanced requirements kicking in on May 1st and, crucially, mandatory multi-factor authentication required for all covered entities by November 1st, 2025.
So specific technical mandates coming from regulators, too. The pressure to report incidents quickly and secure your systems properly is escalating significantly.
Yeah.
And the penalties for failure are becoming much, much steeper.
The regulatory teeth are getting sharper.
Okay, and as we talk about this intricate web of regulations and these increasingly sophisticated, often AI-driven threats, we absolutely have to talk about one of the most pressing and, frankly, quite disturbing issues right now: information authenticity.
Yes.
And specifically, the truly concerning limitations of current deepfake detection technologies. This feels like a looming crisis of trust.
It is a critical reality organizations are facing head-on in 2025, and it's a sobering one. The bottom line is, current deepfake detection technologies simply cannot reliably identify sophisticated real-world deepfakes.
Cannot reliably identify them, even the best ones.
Not consistently in the wild. There was research from CSIRO, Australia's national science agency. They tested 16 leading commercial and academic deepfake detectors.
Okay, what did they find?
None of them could consistently identify sophisticated deepfakes outside of the highly controlled training environments they were built on.
So they work in the lab, but not necessarily out in the real world.
Exactly. The core challenge is that detection accuracy drops, often sharply, when these tools encounter generation techniques that were not included in their original training datasets. It's known as the generalization problem. They're good at spotting what they've been trained on, but struggle with novel variations.
That's a huge problem for real-world application because the attackers are constantly creating novel variations.
Precisely. It means these tools demonstrate only about 70% generalization ability, according to that research. What's even more concerning is that a significant chunk of the failures, maybe 30–40%, occur with what they call synthesis deepfakes.
Synthesis deepfakes, what are those?
These aren't just manipulating existing content, like putting someone's face on another body. These are creating entirely new, completely fabricated identities from scratch.
Wow. So a brand new, entirely fabricated person who looks and sounds real could be interacting with your organization through a video call or an audio message.
That's the threat. And it's not just machines struggling to detect this. The sources also tell us it's incredible.
And the business impact of this pervasive, inauthentic information, this flood of fakes, is substantial and growing rapidly, isn't it?
It really is. We're seeing a chilling trend where 57% of document fraud, things like fake invoices, fake identity documents, now involves AI-generated content.
57%. How much has that increased?
That represents a staggering 244% increase over the previous year. It's exploding.
Wow. And for organizations, this can mean what? What are the consequences?
Immediate stock price volatility, for one, if disinformation attacks about a company spread rapidly online, and severe long-term reputational damage that's hard to recover from.
And globally.
Globally, the problem of counterfeit trade, which is often fueled by deep-faked manufacturing documents, shipping labels, supply chain records, is projected to reach an astounding $1.79 trillion globally by 2030.
Nearly $2 trillion in fake goods and fraud.
Yes, and the challenge extends beyond just that initial detection at onboarding. Get this. 76% of fraud attempts actually occur after the initial Know Your Customer or KYC verification has already happened.
After they're already in the system.
Exactly. Which is driving huge demand for continuous monitoring and authentication throughout the entire user lifecycle. It's no longer enough to verify someone once when they sign up. You have to continuously authenticate their identity and monitor their behavior for anomalies.
That makes sense. You can't just trust that initial check anymore. So this is where content provenance technologies are desperately trying to step up, right? Things trying to verify where content came from.
They are trying, yes. Though they, too, face significant limitations currently. You have initiatives like the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, C2PA.
C2PA, okay. Who's involved in that?
It includes big players like Adobe, Microsoft, Intel, Google, the New York Times. They're trying to create open technical standards for embedding authenticity information directly into digital content, like a digital watermark or nutrition label.
That sounds promising. Are there laws backing this up?
We're starting to see legislative efforts. California's AB 3211, for example, mandates watermarking for certain types of AI-generated content effective February 2025. And there's the Federal Copied Act being discussed, which aims to establish content origin protection requirements for commercial AI tools. These are steps in the right direction, trying to create transparency.
But the technical limitations persist. Can these watermarks be removed or faked?
That's the core problem. Research indicates it might be, quote, theoretically impossible to create truly tamper-proof watermarking solutions that work universally.
Why impossible?
Because of the inherent trade-offs. You struggle with false positive rates marking real content as fake and false negative rates failing to detect fake content. Either error, if it happens too often, can quickly undermine the credibility of the entire system. It's a relentless cat-and-mouse game, and frankly, for now, the generative AI side often seems to be winning in terms of its ability to create convincing fakes that evade current detection and watermarking.
That's not reassuring.
No, it's a very challenging space. And it's further exacerbated by significant shifts we're seeing in social media policies, which obviously impact the spread of disinformation at scale.
What kind of shifts?
Well, Meta, Facebook's parent company, announced it's discontinuing its reliance on third-party fact-checking partnerships for some content, moving towards more community-driven approaches, which essentially shifts more of the burden of verification onto users themselves.
Less professional fact-checking.
Right. And X, formerly Twitter, has significantly reduced its content moderation teams over the last couple of years.
So fewer people policing the platforms.
Fewer people, and in some cases, changing policies. These changes coincide with research findings that consistently show just a small percentage of users, maybe 15% of habitual sharers, are responsible for a hugely disproportionate amount, like 30–40% of the fake news distribution online.
The super sharers have an outsized impact.
Exactly. It highlights the massive impact of user behavior and platform policies on these information authenticity challenges. The platforms are struggling, or in some cases choosing not, to keep up, and the burden is increasingly shifting to you, the user, to try and discern truth from fiction in this absolute flood of potentially manipulated content.
It feels overwhelming for the average person.
It is.
So with detection tools struggling and platforms shifting responsibility, what's the actual solution for organizations trying to verify who they're interacting with? How do they trust anyone?
They are being forced to adopt highly sophisticated, multi-layered verification approaches. It's not about one silver bullet.
Okay, what layers are we talking about?
It means combining robust biometric authentication, like facial recognition, with advanced liveness detection. This is crucial. It's about ensuring you're dealing with a real live person in front of the camera, not just a static picture, a recorded deepfake video, or even a sophisticated physical mask.
Proving presence in life, not just matching a face.
Exactly. They're also leveraging behavioral analytics much more deeply, analyzing subtle cues like typing patterns, mouse movements, how a user navigates an interface, things that are very hard for bots or even human fraudsters to replicate perfectly.
Looking for those unconscious tells.
Right. And finally, they're cross-referencing identity information against vast, trusted databases, pulling from, in some cases, over 450 trusted data sources globally, government records, credit bureaus, utility databases, etc.
So multiple checks, multiple data types. Are there platforms doing this well?
Yes, leading platforms are emerging. Jumio, for example, is achieving truly global document verification capabilities. OnFido provides highly accurate AI-powered biometric matching, claiming 99.8% accuracy in their matching algorithms.
But it all comes back to this core principle you mentioned earlier, right?
Absolutely. Continuous authentication throughout the user journey is becoming increasingly critical. It's not a one-and-done check at login or sign up anymore. It has to be an ongoing verification process, perhaps triggered by risky transactions or unusual behavior, to ensure trust and authenticity are maintained over time.
Okay, that makes sense. It has to be persistent.
Yes.
So this brings us to how these overarching challenges, the threats, the tech, the regulations, the authenticity crisis, how they actually manifest across different sectors.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same for everyone, is it? We're seeing significant disparities in industry-specific approaches and, crucially, vulnerabilities.
That's absolutely right. Each industry faces its own unique set of pressures, legacy systems, regulatory environments, and attack vectors. The impact looks different everywhere.
Let's dive into healthcare first. This is a sector that feels like it's perpetually under siege, mostly due to the highly sensitive nature of patient data, obviously, but also the critical importance of their operations lives are literally on the line.
Exactly. And they're facing truly transformational regulatory changes right now with the updated IPAR security rule requirements.
IPAR, right. What's changing there? Isn't it already strict?
It is, but this update is significant. It essentially eliminates the concept of addressable safeguards, things organizations could previously choose whether or how to implement based on risk assessment.
So less flexibility now.
Much less. It makes all security measures mandatory, significantly raising the bar for baseline compliance across the board for anyone handling patient data.
That sounds expensive.
It is. First-year implementation costs alone are projected to reach $9 billion across the sector, with significant annual ongoing costs projected well into the future after that.
$9 billion just to comply with the updated rule. What are some key mandates in there?
Key mandates include things like mandatory encryption of electronic protected health information, EPHI, both when it's stored at rest and when it's being transmitted in transit. That wasn't always universally required before, and significantly, mandatory multi-factor authentication now extends to operational technology, OT networks.
OT networks, like the systems controlling medical devices.
Exactly. The networks controlling MRI machines, infusion pumps, hospital building systems, things that directly impact patient care and safety, securing those is now explicitly required.
And despite these mandates and presumably increased spending, the healthcare sector's vulnerability remains particularly stark, doesn't it? The breach numbers are frightening.
They are. We saw 68 million patient records breached back in 2023. That number rose dramatically, incredibly, to an alarming 275 million patient records breached in 2024.
68 million to 275 million in 1 year.
Yes. This isn't just an increase, it's an absolute explosion of compromised sensitive health information. It's devastating for patient privacy and trust.
Why is healthcare so particularly vulnerable?
Well, healthcare faces unique challenges. A big one is medical device security. Many hospitals rely on legacy systems, devices that might be 10, 15, even 20 years old.
Right, you can't just swap out an MRI machine easily.
Exactly. And many of these older devices operate on outdated software, sometimes unpatched operating systems that simply cannot support modern encryption standards or robust security updates. They're inherently vulnerable.
Plus, the rise of telemedicine.
That's another huge factor. While incredibly convenient for patients and efficient for providers, the rapid expansion of telemedicine significantly increases the attack surface for bad actors. It creates many more digital endpoints, more data flows, providing new avenues for exploitation and data exfiltration.
So a really tough environment for healthcare CISOs.
Extremely tough. High-value data, critical operations, legacy tech, expanding attack surface, and now stricter regulations. It's a perfect storm.
Okay, let's look at education. Another sector with a disturbingly high ransomware impact, affecting everyone from K-12 schools right up to major universities.
Yes, the trends there are very concerning. Recent data shows that 85% of K-12 schools,
85
but
market.
77% of higher education institutions are experiencing ransomware attacks that involve data encryption.
So their core systems are being locked down. Student records, financial aid info, research data.
Exactly. Critical academic systems are locked, student and staff records are inaccessible, research projects are halted, and learning is severely disrupted, sometimes for weeks.
And the financial impact must be severe, especially for public schools with tight budgets.
It is. Recovery costs just getting systems back online, dealing with data recovery, incident response, have reportedly doubled for K-12 schools and quadrupled for universities in just 1 year.
Quadrupled for universities.
Yeah, this isn't just about lost data or potential regulatory fines. It's about disrupted learning for potentially thousands of students, compromised research that might have taken years, and massive financial strain on already stretched budgets. It often means diverting funds away from essential educational programs just to pay for cyber recovery.
A really damaging cycle.
It is.
Now, financial services. You mentioned Dora earlier. They operate with extremely high stakes, obviously huge amounts of money involved, but consequently, they seem to be making heavy, proactive investments in cybersecurity.
They generally are, yes, they have to. DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act, effective January 2025 in the EU, is a major driver. It introduces, among other things, direct Bank of England regulation over critical third parties.
Critical third parties, meaning
Meaning even the big cloud providers like AWS or Azure or major software vendors serving financial institutions will come under direct regulatory scrutiny and supervision regarding their resilience. That's a big shift.
So regulators are looking beyond the banks themselves to their key suppliers.
Exactly. DORA also mandates rigorous threat-led penetration testing, basically, hiring ethical hackers to simulate real-world attacks based on current threat intelligence to proactively identify weaknesses in defenses.
How much are financial institutions actually spending?
They are allocating, on average, an impressive 13.2% of their total IT budgets just to cybersecurity.
13.2% of IT spend. How does that compare?
It's a significant jump from 8.6% back in 2020. And importantly, that 13.2% is the highest percentage across all major industry sectors. They are investing heavily.
But despite this commitment, they're still facing major threats.
Oh, yes. The threats are relentless. AI-enhanced attacks are reportedly targeting 58% of financial institutions already. And supply chain vulnerabilities attacks coming through vendors or software suppliers are expected to affect 45% by 2025.
So even with massive investment, it's a constant evolving battle. It doesn't guarantee complete immunity.
Not at all. It just raises the bar for attackers, but the most sophisticated ones will still find ways through. It's about resilience and rapid response as much as prevention.
Okay, what about government cybersecurity? It presents this interesting paradox, doesn't it? On one hand, there's substantial federal investment happening.
There is. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, was allocated $3 billion. The FBI's cyber capabilities received an additional $25 million. Treasury's cybersecurity enhancement was funded at $150 million. The money is flowing.
But there's this troubling counter-narrative of persistent vulnerability, particularly in state and local government, but even federally sometimes.
That's the paradox. Public sector organizations consistently demonstrate significant gaps compared to the private sector. A concerning 49% report lacking necessary cybersecurity talent.
Nearly half lack the right people. Has that gotten worse?
Yes, that's a 33% increase from 2024, indicating a widening skills gap specifically within government ranks. They're struggling to compete for talent.
And in terms of overall resilience?
Furthermore, 38% of public sector organizations report having insufficient cyber resilience overall, compared to only 10% reporting that in private, medium to large organizations.
That's a huge difference, 38% versus 10%.
It is. It shows that even with substantial financial investment coming from the top, the human capital, the skilled people, and the foundational resilience built over time remain critical, often unaddressed gaps within many government agencies.
Which makes them prime targets for sophisticated nation-state actors looking for espionage or disruption footholds.
Exactly. They are often seen as softer targets than, say, a major bank.
And critically, this extends to critical infrastructure protection more broadly, which faces incredibly diverse and evolving threats that could have just widespread societal impact if successful.
Absolutely. We're talking about sectors where cyber attacks can have immediate physical consequences.
Like water facilities.
Yes, water facilities are a major concern. Often managed by small, under-resourced municipalities, they frequently rely on vulnerable operational technology, OT systems, and outdated software that are ripe for exploitation. We've seen incidents already.
And energy grids.
Energy grid systems face not only traditional cyber threats, but are also uniquely susceptible to those future quantum computing threats we discussed, which could eventually break the encryption protecting vital command and control systems. The timelines are long, but the potential impact is massive.
Communications infrastructure.
Communications infrastructure has already experienced severe cyber operations. Remember those 124 cyber operations against the space sector alone, mostly satellite communications, just in the context of the Ukraine conflict? It demonstrates the vulnerability of satellite networks that underpin so much modern communication.
Right. Space is becoming a cyber battleground.
It is. And transportation systems are increasingly targeted too. Vulnerabilities exist in satellite networks used for navigation, like GPS, in the control systems for rail or air traffic, and even potentially in the critical undersea cables that carry the vast majority of global internet traffic.
An attack on those cables would be catastrophic.
It would have immense global impact. The interconnectedness of all these critical infrastructure systems creates an enormous, complex, and increasingly exposed attack surface.
Which brings us neatly, if depressingly, to the elephant in the room for all these sectors. The cybersecurity workforce crisis.
The skills gap.
It's not just a shortage, you called it a global chasm earlier. The numbers are stark.
They really are. The currently active global workforce is estimated at around 5.5 million professionals. But they are facing a staggering 4.8 million unfilled position gap.
4.8 million open jobs that can't be filled.
That's the estimate. And that gap represents a 19% increase just in the last year or so. It's getting worse, not better.
Are there regional differences?
Huge ones. The Asia-Pacific region accounts for a disproportionate 56% of this global shortage. They have the biggest gap.
And sector differences. You mentioned finance invests heavily, but do they have the people?
That's the irony. Despite their high investment, the financial services sector actually concentrates 64% of the global shortage. They have the money, but they're struggling immensely to find and retain the highly specialized talent they need to manage these complex risks. The competition is fierce.
And there's a diversity issue too, right?
Absolutely. There's a significant demographic imbalance. Women, for example, still represent only about 24% of the global cybersecurity workforce.
Only 1 in 4.
Right. Which indicates a clear, urgent need for targeted recruitment strategies and initiatives to diversify the talent pipeline, bringing in people from different backgrounds, different perspectives. We're leaving talent on the table.
It's a systemic issue. It impacts everyone, regardless of sector, and it fundamentally hobbles our collective defense capabilities against these ever-growing threats. We just don't have enough trained defenders.
That's the bottom line.
Okay, so this skills gap is precisely one of the key factors, along with AI and everything else, that will profoundly shape the next 5-10 years. It forces organizations to rethink their talent strategies, their technology strategies, everything.
Absolutely. Looking ahead, AI's offensive edge is set to dominate. We're moving beyond AI just being used for defense.
AI attacking AI.
Increasingly, yes.
Yeah.
Projections suggest that by 2026, so quite soon, the majority of advanced cyber attacks will not just use AI for simple tasks like finding vulnerabilities, but will employ it for dynamic, multi-layered attacks that can adapt their tactics in real time based on the defenses they encounter.
Learning, adapting attacks.
Exactly. And the dark web data is already showing an alarming trend supporting this. Sales and discussion of deepfake-related tools and services on dark web forums increased by a shocking 223% between just Q1 2023 and Q1 2024.
Wow. The tools for offense are proliferating rapidly.
They are. The threat landscape will increasingly be defined by these AI versus AI battles where autonomous offensive systems will be pitted against autonomous defensive systems in the digital realm. It's a paradigm shift.
And on the quantum computing front, you mentioned the threat is likely decades away, late 2030s, maybe even later.
According to Maitri's assessment, yes, for computers powerful enough to break today's standard encryption.
Yet there's this crucial and often overlooked concern. Only 40% of organizations are currently conducting any kind of quantum threat risk assessment.
That low adoption rate for planning is dangerous because of that harvest now, decrypt later attack strategy we discussed.
Right. Adversaries collecting encrypted data today.
Fully intending to decrypt it once quantum capabilities exist, potentially years down the road. This emphasizes the immediate strategic need to start migrating towards quantum-resistant encryption, building on those NIST standards that are now available.
So for you, the listener, it's about future-proofing your most valuable, long-lasting data, starting the planning and testing right now before it's too late and that data is compromised retroactively.
You have to assume data stolen today could be read tomorrow. That's the mindset needed.
Okay. And the convergence of AI and cybersecurity will also profoundly reshape existing cyber roles, won't it? And even create entirely new ones.
Absolutely. An overwhelming 91% of cybersecurity professionals agree that AI will generate novel cybersecurity roles we haven't even thought of yet. Things like AI security trainers, AI risk assessors, prompt injection specialists.
But there's a disconnect.
There is. Paradoxically, while acknowledging this future need, 67% of those same professionals report insufficient investment in AI competencies and training within their current organizations.
So we know we need the skills, but we're not investing enough in developing them.
That's the gap. A clear disconnect between the acknowledged future need and the current strategic investment in upskilling the workforce.
On another front, the humble password. Long the bane of our digital existence. Could it finally be on its way out?
The signs are pointing that way. Passwordless authentication methods, biometrics, hardware keys, FIDO standards are maturing so rapidly that passwords could be rendered nearly obsolete, or at least much less common for critical access, by 2030.
That would be a welcome change for usability and security.
Huge improvement on both fronts. And think about security operations centers, the SOCs. AI-powered systems there will increasingly position human analysts in secondary supervisory roles.
Humans managing the AI.
Exactly. Overseeing machine-driven threat detection and response. This shifts the human role away from tedious manual log analysis or basic alert triage.
The grunt work.
Right. Towards higher-level strategic analysis, complex threat hunting, incident command, and tuning the AI systems themselves. It elevates the human role, potentially.
That's a huge shift in how security teams will need to operate, demanding completely new skill sets focused on working with AI.
It really is. And browser security is also evolving rapidly. With remote and hybrid work being the norm, the enterprise browser itself is becoming the primary security delivery method for many distributed workforces.
The browser as the new endpoint security tool.
In many ways, yes. Secure enterprise browsers can enforce policies, isolate risky websites, prevent data leakage right where the user interacts with web applications and data. It acknowledges that the modern perimeter isn't a firewall around your office building anymore. It's the device and the browser your employees use wherever they happen to be.
That makes sense. It follows the user. And this is part of a larger trend towards consolidation, right?
Yeah.
Fewer tools, better integration.
Yes, exactly. Projections suggest that by 2028, a significant 45% of organizations will use fewer than 15 cybersecurity tools across their entire stack.
Fewer than 15. That sounds low compared to the sprawl many companies have now.
It does. It reflects a strategic shift away from the best-of-breed approach that led to dozens, sometimes hundreds, of disconnected point solutions. Organizations are prioritizing operational efficiency and better integration through more comprehensive platform solutions. The mantra will increasingly be, less is more, especially when it comes to managing complex security stacks effectively.
Less complexity, hopefully better security outcomes.
That's the goal. Fewer gaps between tools, easier management, better visibility.
And critical infrastructure, you mentioned water, energy, etc., faces even more expanded threat vectors in the coming years. Due to new technologies.
Yes, due to both technological advancements and evolving global dynamics. We're talking about increasingly sophisticated attacks targeting vulnerabilities in water system treatment facilities, potentially poisoning water supplies or causing physical damage. We're seeing concerns about new, complex AI-enhanced genetic engineering biosecurity risks the convergence of biotechnology and cyber threats.
That sounds like science fiction, but potentially real.
It's on the horizon as a risk category, yes. Satellites, as we discussed, are rapidly emerging as primary attack vectors, not just for communications, but for surveillance, targeting, and disruption.
And even green energy?
Even seemingly benign renewable energy systems, solar farms, wind turbines, are introducing new vulnerabilities through their reliance on interconnected smart grids, IoT sensors, and remote management systems that can potentially be hacked. The attack surface just keeps expanding into new domains.
Wow. And in terms of regulation, looking ahead, you mentioned harmonization might be coming, but also expansion?
It's a bit of both. While some level of regulatory harmonization, maybe through international agreements or common frameworks, is tentatively expected by 2030, which could offer some potential relief from the current fragmented complexity.
That would be welcome.
It would. But organizations must simultaneously prepare for continued expansion of regulations into new areas, particularly around AI accountability and bias, biometric data protection, and geolocation privacy.
So new types of data and tech coming under scrutiny?
Exactly. Legislators are still struggling to keep pace with the exponential advancements in technology. So expect more rules, more granular definitions, and potentially more sector-specific requirements to come as they try to grapple with the societal implications of these powerful emerging technologies. The regulatory landscape will continue to be a moving target for the foreseeable future. Compliance efforts will need to remain agile.
Okay, so given all these evolving threats, the rapid maturation of advanced technologies, the ever-increasing regulatory burdens, and this crisis of authenticity, what are the strategic recommendations? What should organizations listening actually do?
Right, this so what? The core message, as we've discussed throughout, really needs to be clear. Prioritize integration over accumulation.
Integration over accumulation.
Meaning, instead of just layering on endless new point solutions, hoping to cover every niche threat, which often creates security gaps, visibility issues, and management nightmares, implement fewer, more capable, integrated platforms that provide comprehensive coverage across multiple domains.
So aim for platforms that do more, work together better.
Exactly. This approach creates genuine operational efficiency, reduces complexity, and actually enhances your overall security posture more effectively than just buying more disconnected tools.
Okay, that's the high-level strategy. What about immediate tactical moves? What can listeners start doing tomorrow?
Okay, some actionable insights. First, deploy those AI-enhanced detection and response systems. You need them to proactively counter the AI-driven attacks we discussed. It's about leveraging machine speed against machine speed.
Fight fire with fire.
Essentially, yes. Second, utilize behavioral analytics like UEBA much more effectively, especially for sophisticated insider threat detection, catching those anomalies in user behavior that traditional rule-based systems often miss.
And quantum.
And third, crucially, conduct quantum readiness assessments now. Start developing migration plans, identifying your most critical long-term data. Even if widespread quantum computers seem distant, the preparation needs to begin. Remember, harvest now, decrypt later.
Okay, AI detection, UEBA, quantum plan. What else?
Fortifying the supply chain is absolutely critical. Implement robust supply chain security programs. This means thorough third-party risk assessment and ongoing monitoring of your vendors, especially since 54% of large organizations cite third-party risk as their single biggest cyber resilience barrier right now.
They know it's a problem.
They know it's a problem. And for ransomware protection specifically, implement advanced backup strategies. Think air-gapped, immutable storage backups that are physically disconnected and cannot be altered or encrypted by ransomware. That's your lifeline if you get hit.
Makes sense. Protect the backups religiously. What about investment priorities? Where should the money go?
Smart investment priorities mean balancing today's known threats with tomorrow's emerging challenges. You need to prepare for both.
So don't just focus on ransomware, for example.
Right. This includes emphasizing deepfake detection awareness and prevention training for employees, alongside investing in technical detection capabilities, because the human element, a skeptical, trained employee, is still often your strongest defense against social engineering.
The human firewall.
Exactly. Also, focus investment on robust cloud security posture management, CSPM tools that can give you visibility and control across all your different multi-cloud environments. Ensure consistent security everywhere. Automate incident response wherever possible, especially using AI-powered triage to dramatically reduce those attacker breakout times we talked about. Speed is everything in response.
And training again?
And crucially, yes, implement security awareness training that specifically focuses on these new AI-generated threats, deepfake phishing, sophisticated spear phishing using AI insights, and conduct regular tabletop exercises, simulations that explicitly include deepfake scenarios to prepare your security teams and your leadership for how to respond in a real crisis.
Practice makes perfect, even for deepfakes.
It builds muscle memory. This is about both human preparedness and technological preparedness working together.
Okay. And we absolutely must address the cybersecurity workforce crisis head on. What can organizations realistically do about the 4.8 million global position gap?
It requires a multi-pronged approach. First, comprehensive talent pipeline strategies are needed, starting much earlier, partnering with schools, universities, vocational programs to build interest and skills from the ground up.
Long-term planning.
Yes, but short-term too. Shift to skill-based hiring. Replace rigid degree requirements, which often exclude capable candidates, with practical assessments, certifications, and hands-on labs that identify true capabilities, regardless of formal education path.
Focus on what they can do.
Exactly. Provide AI integration training for your existing staff. Upskill your current workforce so they can leverage these new AI tools effectively. Don't just rely on hiring externally.
Develop internal talent.
Yes, and expand recruitment beyond traditional sources. Currently, only 23% of companies actively recruit from diverse backgrounds or non-traditional talent pools like veterans, career changers, or neurodiverse individuals. There's vast untapped potential there.
Broaden the search.
Yeah.
And keeping the people you have.
And importantly, implement robust retention strategies. Address the burnout issue, which affects a worrying 66% of CSOs and likely many on their teams. Provide clear career paths, supportive management, and frankly, competitive compensation. These roles are projected to grow an astonishing 267% above national averages in terms of demand. You have to pay to keep good people.
It's about building and retaining your human defense, because technology alone is never, ever enough.
Never. People, process, technology in that order still.
Okay, and optimizing that complex regulatory compliance burden. Any tips there?
Yes. Adopt platform-first approaches here, too. Use integrated GRC governance, risk, and compliance platforms that can help you manage multiple overlapping regulatory frameworks simultaneously, reducing duplication of effort.
Map controls once, apply to many frameworks.
That's the idea. Embed privacy by design from the absolute initial development stages of any new product, service, or system. Make privacy an inherent feature, not an awkward bolt-on added at the end.
Privacy by design. Proactive.
Yes. Implement continuous monitoring through automated compliance tracking tools. Move beyond just annual audits to having real-time assurance that controls are operating effectively. Ensure organization-wide privacy literacy through comprehensive role-based training. Empower every single employee to understand their responsibilities and be a part of your compliance efforts. It can't just live in the legal department.
Everyone's job.
And finally, prioritize your efforts. Focus on high-risk data processing activities using risk-based assessments. Allocate your limited compliance resources effectively to address the biggest risks first, maintaining cost-effectiveness amidst this ever-growing compliance burden.
Be strategic about compliance, too. And lastly, what about collaboration? How important is that?
Collaboration across the industry is absolutely essential now. No organization can fight this battle alone.
How does that look in practice?
It means active participation in international threat intelligence sharing through bodies like Information Sharing and Analysis Centers, ISACs for specific sectors, or National Computer Emergency Response Teams, CERTs. Learning from each other's incidents and indicators of compromise in near real time.
Share the threat intel.
Yes. Support regulatory harmonization efforts globally. Advocate through industry associations for more unified, less fragmented laws where possible. Participate actively in standard-setting initiatives, helping to shape the future of cybersecurity best practices and technologies.
Get involved in setting the standards.
And optimize your comprehensive cyber insurance. This means regular coverage reviews to ensure your policy actually addresses these evolving threat landscapes, like deepfakes or systemic supply chain risks. And understanding your policy's requirements for incident response. Make sure you're adequately protected financially.
So the fundamental shift here, wrapping it all up, is really moving beyond those traditional perimeter defenses.
Long gone.
towards truly integrated AI-augmented security operations. Ones capable of detecting and responding rapidly to both sophisticated human adversaries and increasingly autonomous machine-generated threats, often in near real time. It's a total transformation of how we have to think about and execute cybersecurity.
It really is. So what does this all mean for your organization listening today? I think the key takeaway is that effective cybersecurity in 2025 and beyond isn't just about protection anymore. It's not just defense.
What is it then?
It's about enabling business growth and innovation despite operating in an increasingly complex and actively hostile digital environment. It's about strategically protecting your critical assets, your data, your reputation against sophisticated, persistent adversaries, thereby ensuring trust and resilience, which are foundational for success.
That's a great way to frame it. Not just cost, but enablement. And as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for our listeners to chew on. Consider this. In a world where AI-generated threats are becoming almost indistinguishable from reality, and regulations span the globe like an intricate, ever-expanding web, how will your organization successfully balance the drive for technological innovation with the fundamental human need for trust and authenticity?
That's the tightrope walk.
Because cyber resilience isn't just a technical problem anymore, is it? It truly is a core strategic imperative for organizational survival and success in the years ahead.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's foundational.